Hello GTS, my name is GoodwillBBQ and I am bringing you a 5th Gen OU match against Kung Lao. You may notice that I'm on the other side of the field, and basically I know it's a huge hindrance, but I think we're just going to have to muddle through this one together. Um, so yeah, anyways, oh god, I hope you didn't hear that. Anyways, I'm using a team I stole off of Smogan that has a Scarf T-Tar, a Rocky Helmet, Skarmory, and Garchomp with Stealth Rocks, a Calm Mind Latios with only Dragon Pulse, a Calm Mind Virizion, and a Taunting, Scalding, Will-O-Wisping Jellicent. And looking at my opponent's team, he's got a pretty good Sandstall core, and I know the two things that stand out to me are Landorus, which was recently suspected, I think, and so that means to me it's either going to be Scarfed or Rock Polish, and Rock Polish is really scary for me since I've never actually faced it before. I've just heard the horrible horror stories on Smogan. And then that Rotom, because I kind of don't want it to be Scarfed as well, because Scarf, Volt Switch, Hydro Pump, and Hidden Power Fire is not really something I want to have to predict around. So yeah, without further ado, let us begin. So I decided to lead with my Jellicent, expecting Fortress because I have Taunt so I can prevent him from setting up Stealth Rocks, but he leads with Landorus, which scares me. I figure I can live anything, and I'd like to see if he's Scarfed. So I just go for Surf, as he goes for U-Turn, which is telling me he's probably Scarfed. He decides to bring in his Tyranitar, and I figure he's going to go for Pursuit. So I'm going to Will-O-Wisp as he does just that, and then I expect him to go for it again because I'm stupid, and he actually goes for Toxic, which I wasn't expecting at all. Maybe like Superpower or something I was expecting. So I'm just going to keep Scalding, expecting him to switch since he knows I can recover everything, and he probably wouldn't expect me to stay in now that I've been Toxic. So I Scald this Rotom, and I get the burn. So I'm fearing either Stab move, and I go into my Virizion, and he shows me Pain Split, which was like the last thing I was expecting. Will-O-Wisp was more fearful to me. But he gets a lot of health back actually, and then switches out into his Scizor. I don't want to take a banded U-turn, so I go to my Skarmory, who doesn't take a crit Bullet Punch as well as I think he should be able to. So that's telling me he's probably banded. So I can set up a layer of spikes as he brings in Rotom. I'm expecting either Stab. I don't want to over-predict and send in the Garchomp on a Hydro Pump or the Jellicent on a Volt Switch. So I bring in my Latios as he goes for Volt Switch and goes into his Scizor. I know I'm going to be faster, so I'm just going to sub to see what he wants to bring in, and he brings in the Landorus, which, if I didn't know if it was Scarf before, I know it's going to be Scarf now, and I know it's going to go for U-turn, or I should expect U-turn, so I go into my Jellicent for no reason other than I'm bad at this game, and he brings in his Rotom. I'm expecting him to go for the Will-O-Wisp because he has Pain Split, and so that's the common set, I guess. And I stay in and go for a very risky recover and block the Will-O-Wisp, which is dope. I switch out my Virizion for the exact same reasons, and the Pain Split won't be recovering as much, but it still does a decent amount. And then he hard switches into his Scizor, or he Volt Switches, I don't know. And I'm going to go for a Focus Blast just because it's Stab and Giga Drain was a little too obvious. I decide to go into my Garchomp to do Rocky Helmet damage and hope I can get some Stealth Rocks up if he brings in anything like a Zipoudon. But he brings in his Landorus. I'm fearing the Hidden Power Ice. I go into my Jellicent. I know he's Scarfed now for sure, so I'm going to go for a Will-O-Wisp when I should have gone for Scald, but I was being bad, and he brings in his Tyranitar. Again, I expect him to go for Pursuit, so I decide to recover, and now we are all caught up. So I know I can live a Pursuit even if I switch out, which is what I decide to do, and it does 27% about, and that's really impressive. I go into my Skarmory, and I expect him to go into his Landorus? Why would I go into T-Tar? I'm trying to double switch in my T-Tar for some reason. Oh, I'm expecting him to go into his fortress, expecting to spin. But he instead goes into his Hippowdon. My Tyranitar is scarfed. I can't do anything. I go to Garchomp because I know he can set up his rocks, but that gives me an opportunity to set up mine, which is what I do. After he Earthquakes me, he brings in his Rotom. He Hydro Pumps my Garchomp, who would die to Stealth Rock switch in anyway, and that's what happens. I bring in my Virizion, and I'm expecting him to go into Landorus, which is, I don't know why I'm so afraid of Landorus at this point. And I go for Hidden Power Ice, but he stays in. I don't kill him. He's able to Pain Split and, you know, get to a point where he's not going to die this turn. And then I decide to go for Giga Drain, being like, okay, he's going to sack this thing now, but he brings in Fortress. So I decide to go to Jellicent, but he takes that turn to set up Spikes, and I could taunt him right now, but I'm noticing my team isn't super weak to Spikes, and Tyranitar hasn't taken damage yet. Like, my team is weak to Spikes, but what's left isn't super weak, and I decided to go for Recover instead of Taunt, and then I think I go for Scald. I was talking and didn't pay attention. His Rotom dies to after turn effects, and he brings in his Tyranitar. Again, like, I don't need to fear Pursuit at all, so I can recover and then switch out. Nope, I'm just gonna Scald him to death. So I can recover and sit pretty. So his last 3 Pokemon are like impossible for me to take down. He brings in his Landorus, and I want to see what he's gonna lock himself into, and he goes for Earthquake. So now I'm like, oh ho ho, I can set up. And does this look like a Latios sweep? This is looking like a Latios sweep. I start setting up my Calm Mind, and since there's not a single move Fortress can hit me with to break my sub other than Gyro Ball, which he hasn't shown, I don't think he has, I'm just going to set up a sub. He Rapid Spins as I'm able to recover, and then he sets up Spikes or something along those lines. Anyways, I'm able to set up another Calm Mind as he goes for Volt Switch, which obviously is not going to break my sub, and he brings in Hippo, and at this point I'm like, oh snap, I totally forgot this thing gets Whirlwind, and I didn't get enough Calm Minds to be able to one-shot him at that point, so he's able to Whirlwind me out and I lose all my bonuses, which just really sucks. Then he Whirlwinds me into my Skarmory, who can't touch his Hippowdon. But I know I can at least set up Spikes expecting Whirlwind, which I know he's going to do, and damage his Fortress on the switch in. He Whirlwinds me into my Virizion, and I'm just going to go for Giga Drain because I'm at such a low amount of health that, like, you know, I need the health if I want to be alive. And then he Whirlwinds me into Tyranitar, who can't do anything to Hippowdon, so I have to sit here and crunch him to death, hoping for defense drops until he kills me. And then I finally get one, and then I get another one, and then he kills me. And so basically my battle strategy plan is to get down to Latios where he can't Whirlwind me out and get enough Calm Minds that I can just destroy his Hippowdon, or his Landorus, his Landorus. So I go into Skarmory, and the reason I went for Brave Bird is because Hippowdon had 2 defense drops, and I honestly thought it would do a decent amount to, you know, a -2 Hippowdon or a neutral damage on Fortress or Landorus, but it doesn't. He brings in Fortress when I do that, so I decide to switch into Latios. He brings in Landorus, I decide to sub or do something, he U-turns, and then now I'm in this situation where I can set up all I want on this Fortress. So I take the opportunity to roost because I can't sub, and he Volt Switches into the Landorus, and I'm hoping he'll go for U-turn just so I can get that Rocky Helmet damage, which is what happens, and I can start setting up Spikes again, trying to damage his Fortress or his Hippowdon on the switch-in, since I can't hurt the Landorus that way, and my Skarmory doesn't have rocks. So I know the Whirlwind's coming, because I mean, look how many hazards are on my side. So I decided to set up 1 layer of Spikes. Whirlwinds me into my Virizion. I mean, neither matchup was favorable for him. The remaining Pokemon can all deal with Hippowdon. So I'm able to Giga Drain, eventually get sent into my Latios, who can, I can't set up Calm Minds, but I can Roost, I can Dragon Pulse, I can, that's about it. But basically he can't touch me because his only moves are Stealth Rocks, Earthquake, Whirlwind, and something else. I don't remember. He can't touch me, I know, at this point. So I'm able to just do whatever I want with my Latios. He finally brings in his Fortress to die to Spike's damage and Dragon Pulse. On his free switch-in, he brings in his Hippowdon. And I know I can live anything since I'm at a high amount of health. I can Roost it off, see what he's going to bring in, and set up all over that. He brings in his Hippowdon because he has to. And I get a crit Dragon Pulse. Didn't really matter. The worst thing that was going to happen is he was going to roar me into either Skarmory or Virizion. They were going to die to an Earthquake because I think Virizion was at really low health. And then he can't touch Skarmory either. So I'm able to bring in Latios, hit him with a Dragon Pulse, and eventually he dies. And that is the game. Thank you for watching, guys. I apologize that the last part was super stally, but I thought it was a good match. If you like my narration style, please check out my channel, and yeah, thanks for supporting the GTS and the Pokemon battling community. Peace!